Right. So good morning, everyone. This morning I have Miss Kerri Larson. She's a medical coordinator with multiple vet organizations, rescue organizations here in our wonderful East Montgomery County, Northeast Harris County area. And she had some asks that we're going to go through in a minute. But what I found interesting and get leading up to this interview was the need, right? I think this time of year we're going into Christmas. That's kind of closing out, but a lot of times we think about kids in needs, family in needs, domestic violence survivors. We think about the vets that might be in need, the homeless population there. But one of the things that I think strikes us all and strikes all of our hearts is a little more helpless, the animals in the area, and how can we support and how can we easily contribute and drive awareness towards it, as well as what little asks do those organizations have that people in our community, the leaders, the small business owners, the influential people in Northeast Harris County and then in East Montgomery County, what can they do to support these organizations? And she was nice enough to come spend some time with us this morning. I am John. I am with RadioKair. I'm here supporting Bob as always. And I wanted to talk a little bit about specifically the awareness of the issue, right? I think we're going to go through the ask, but really the awareness of the issue is where I want to start, because I think people lose focus and lose thoughts about that. So I wanted to ask you, what is the problem? What is the issue, and what could it create for us?
So I guess I want to say that we have a overpopulation of stray animals. We have a cultural issue where most of some of the people that live in some of the communities just aren't aware of, the proper care of animals, and it's led to this overpopulation issue. They also don't believe in spay-neuter. Culturally, they think if you chop off a dog's balls, then it's not a man or a boy anymore. So there's some issues we have to combat there. So I've worked very hard in trying to educate by holding outreach clinics, going out in Roman Forest, for instance, almost 2 years ago, we did some yard sales. The community donated. We held this lovely yard sale, raised money, and I did a community outreach vaccine and microchip clinic in Kings Colony that sits behind Roman Forest. I couldn't have done that without the community support. Mm-hmm. It was effective. I did get a lot of people on board to spay and neuter their pets, which is where the Empty Shelter Project came in. They've been kind enough to give me spay-neuter spaces. They provide the surgery, rabies vaccine, distemper parvo vaccine, microchip, all for free, and I will transport the animals in for these people, and we've done over 400 in just that little area in the last 2 years. Yeah,
that's cool. So, and it's it's the gift that keeps on giving, right? When you spay-neuter one, mm-hmm. You're stopping a chain, right, of events that could happen later. And it is cool. You were telling me a little about the community of Roman Forest, right? Roman Forest is hidden back there, right? It's one of those that if you're not from this area, you really don't know where and what it is. But I've spent some time back there in my businesses, and it is a cool, tight-knit community that always is willing to give and contribute. And so, I've volunteered some people I know up in that area that might have facilities that could support your efforts. But I think that going down this path, there's the risk, right? I think overpopulation of any animal, whether it's deer, right, or stray dogs, stray cats kind of thing, is a problem. But what risk does that cause to our community? What are your major concerns with that risk?
So what I see is the more stray dogs that you have that populate, you create what's called feral colonies, which then create a pack mentality. These are animals that have never had any interaction with people. They will create a pack. They will attack for food to survive. My concern is, like Houston, about a month ago, that lady was mauled by dogs by the bayou. There was a gentleman that was mauled by dogs in Cleveland. This is a real risk. We have children that are waiting for school buses in the mornings. I don't want something like that to happen. So, ideally, it would be great if Montgomery County would do a street sweep and maybe pick up dogs that have never been in contact or trap. We could help with that effort. And maybe those are dogs that you're not going to have time to behavioral change or anything else. They need euthanized. And I hate to say it, but it's true. The ones that do have some contact, we can work with rescue groups to get them moving. The shelters are overpacked, so there's just a lot of things that we can do to help, but we really need to stop the overpopulation of these dogs that don't have any contact with humans.
So the street sweep, as you're calling it, my guess is that's something that Commissioner Gray's office, is that the county commissioner's responsibility for the animal control, or do you know in East Montgomery County?
I don't know in East Montgomery County, but it would be great. I'd be happy to help with any efforts that would come up from the political side, anything that's driven. I think everybody can engage in some aspect of fixing the problem or working towards fixing the problem.
Matt's a good guy, and I'm telling you, he's part of our East Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce, and we're pretty close, and he's done a good job of different projects. He's responsible for a ton. I didn't realize the commissioner's office, but he's got all the road projects, whether it's Sorters, Ford Road, all those expansion projects are all his. Right?
Oh, those are excellent.
Utilities, all that stuff is coordinated through his team, and then I would have to assume that's probably one of his responsibilities is animal control. But we can reach out to them and find that out. Cool.
Well, another space for that is there is a homeless camp that sits over on 99 near 1485 that is on the border of Liberty and Montgomery County. We encountered about 130 homeless people over there. I teamed up with a rescue group called Three Little Pitties. They provided their transport bus. We went in and we vaccinated. We gave Pro-Heart injections to the ones that would work and engage with us. We handed out food, dog food, people food, blankets. There's a team that goes in there regularly to do that. But we did pick up 41 dogs. Roman Forest let us park the bus overnight at the park. Some of the community members came out to walk the dogs in the morning, and we took them in, got spay and neuter, and then returned them to the homeless camp. So we're trying to, slow that progression down over there because, again, you have a growing populated area, and, it's building up quickly.
Yes, yeah, so when you say homeless camp, you're saying a human homeless camp,
yes.
Right? And then with that, I think we've seen, right, you got somebody dealing with some demons, it's in a homeless situation, and then they have a dog following them.
Right.
And I think we've all seen that in our passing, and it's unfortunate, but it's cool that you have groups that are kind of focused on that area, because if if they don't have the means to provide themselves a shelter, are they going to have the means to provide their dogs the proper vaccines and
no, and the sad thing you see there is that dog may be the only thing that's giving them purpose right now. So if we can help, we've helped.
Yeah, it's their best friend, and probably their and that's not indifferent to my household, right?
And maybe you can help lead in a direction where, like right now, what I've seen over there is there's a lack of cleanliness, so to speak, which becomes a safety and environmental hazard. So I think, ideally, I don't know who at the county could provide some dumpsters or, porta potties, at least for now, because it's going to be a problem if it's not addressed.
Yeah. Write myself some notes, sorry for the silence. Okay. In talking, we came up with some ideas for support, and we've already sent some texts to our friends and in the community to see what direction we can go. But I guess what we're asking for in this interview is other ideas, right? We have people that we know in our community that can provide support, maybe can provide facilities, small businesses that can donate X and Y to support these efforts, because the animals a lot of times are a little helpless. In my house, it's that puppy dog eye thing, right? And my dog, every time his bowl's halfway empty of water, it's a panic situation for him. I couldn't imagine having a dog on the street, right? And when is it going to get that food? When is it going to get that water? So it's a very sad situation. The other thing in our community that is of need, we have the homeless population, but we also have people that aren't homeless that maybe don't have the means for the neutering projects and vaccines and those kind of things. Is that more prevalent here in East Montgomery County? Is it less? Is that something that maybe is special to our area that's maybe not? Or have you seen evidence of that?
I think it is. Like I said, I've helped 400 people here that live in the community. They're just a lower income, and let's face it, with inflation, being able to afford spay and neuter isn't high on the priority list. I mean, you have to prioritize your utilities and your food bill before you can prioritize your dog. So if we could bring the Empty Shelter Project here, we could literally spay and neuter 500 to 600 dogs for free, provide vaccines and microchips to that many people here in our community, and I think that would be huge.
And so when you talk about one of these big events, right? So you're talking about massive. If you got 500 dogs or even 500 people going through any one facility, it's a pretty massive undertaking.
It is.
And so how are you finding the vets, the people, the support, the caretakers or people in the community? How are you finding those? Is that something that's already well established?
It
Or
is.
is that something that's an additional ask? Or how has that group found that?
No, K9 Angels, Mary Tipton is the head of the Empty Shelter Project. They started this because it was a huge need in the Houston area, greater Houston area. There's a lot of low-income areas. I think they've been at it about 7 years now. They've established a really good team of veterinarians and vet techs and a good following of volunteers that attend every event. They do a quarterly event where they spay and neuter 500 to 600 cats and dogs at every event.
And that's specific to just Houston, or is that is that the state of Texas, or how?
No.
What's their bandwidth?
They do Houston and greater Houston.
Okay, so they're very specific to
Yeah,
us.
we've been down in Baytown, Cloverleaf,
Good.
and some of the pockets that they've worked. They've done a few events. It's really, really reduced those stray populations, overpopulation. Okay. It's really, really helped those areas, and we just have not had that in East Montgomery County. And I think with our growth, we need it.
Yeah. I mean, I think we see this with any wildlife, right? As we build, we're condensing the environment in which the wildlife can live.
Yes.
And the wildlife often interacts with the community more as you grow.
Yes.
As you build more buildings, they have less places to go.
Right.
And so whether it's, wild pigs or deer or all those things that all of a sudden become a nuisance to us,
Right.
well, we're there in their place now,
Mm-hmm.
So, and when you can talk about, the pack mentality and helping to reduce that, it should be natural and something we are definitely concerned with at this point. Okay, right on.
Yes.
One question I did want to ask. So K9 Angels and Empty Shelter Project Texas, real quick before we continue, how would they look and research information about those two organizations? Is there websites? Is there?
So K9 Angels Rescue, yeah, I believe they have a Facebook page. They may have a website. The Empty Shelter Project Texas, TX, I believe if you search on there, there's videos out there that show the operation. So basically on Fridays, we load up the huge trucks with all the surgical equipment, anesthesia machines, sterilization equipment. There's a team that comes in and then they go to whichever facility has, granted us access. Mm-hmm. We set up, everything is tarped, every surface, because they don't want to do any damage to anything. So they are very, very anal about being, cleanliness standards, safety standards, everything. They've been doing it for 7 years. It's a well-oiled machine.
Okay.
They set everything up the night before. They have a registration area the day of. And it goes through a progression. It's like a registration, pre-op, pre-surgical, surgical, recovery, and then, discharge.
Yeah, and the cool thing you were telling me is, we've expressed interest with one of our ISDs in our community, and before we leave, we'll discuss it with the other one as well. So, as we know in East Montgomery County, we're very tied to Splendora ISD. We're very tied to New Caney ISD.
Yes.
The cool thing is about whoever takes on this opportunity to partner with Empty Shelters Projects Texas is an opportunity also for the students, which I think is pretty cool,
Yes.
right? So we got vet tech programs in the schools, and now you're getting a lot of on-hands
Yes.
practice
Yes.
and with supervision from vets and
Yeah, we
the
always-
caretakers to support.
We always target the schools that do have vet tech programs, especially because they have to do so many hours. Dr. Amanda Hanna, she's the head vet for the Empty Shelter Project. And she is also doing a small engagement in January for that program. So they're already aware of her, and she will be coming in to help them. So ideally, it would be a great location.
Cool.
And like I said, they're very, very anal. They leave it better than what they came. They take security, safety. It's high priority. Liability insurance, all of that.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So, and then one of the things I want to make sure we recognize is some of the local businesses in our community that are already supporting your efforts, right?
Yes.
I think it's really cool that we have, we were talking about this. We've got growth, which is awesome in East Montgomery County. It's going to pay for most of our kids' educations, through the ISDs. The growth is going to provide sales tax and jobs and all those things that are help fund everything we need to do to live and work in this community. But the cool thing is the small businesses are still a very closed and small market mentality. In Northeast Harris and Montgomery County, we're very close knit, and you already have some of the businesses that are supporting what you're doing in different means. So would you like to mention any of those and what they're doing?
Yeah, actually, there's a new business that started up over by HEB off of North Park called Bubbly Paws. They offer grooming services. They have self-service dog wash stations, which in the rescue community, I've already spread the word because we're super excited, because a lot of times if we take a dog off the street and a rescue group is going to intake that dog, a lot of times they're full of fleas, they're full of things, and we can now go over there and not break our backs, giving a dog a bath and preparing them to go into that rescue group, but at least providing some relief for those dogs. Bubbly Paws is also a great place to donate your towels, your old newspapers, and any dog food that you would like to support any of the efforts of the local rescue groups that are there. I usually distribute. I bring stuff from the south, or sometimes Dora's Dogs and Cats. She's really good. She has a rescue group over in Kingwood. She has a new facility and house there where she intakes dogs. She also gets donations, and she'll give them to some of us local rescues to share amongst ourselves. Because it's important. We do street feeding. There's a lot of people that do street feeding. Again, we're trying to avoid the pack mentalities by setting up feeding stations, but we need more help.
Yep. Yeah, so first off, you mentioned was the Bubbly Paws, and it is a cool, so I'm very close to Chris and Laura, the owners. They live a couple houses down from me, and I went to help them set up for their opening. And one of the things I noticed first and foremost, how clean their building is. Yes. I thought that how hard. So we did a test run with my dog, and my dog is about 120-pound Great Pyrenees mix. He's huge, and he's a huge fluff ball. Mm-hmm. So before they opened, I was like, well, let's see if these drains can handle bear. So we brought my big dog in, and my mom and dad washed him there, and it's an undertaking. And then the funniest part was taking him to the drying room. So yes. Bubbly Paws, the cool thing about Bubbly Paws is when you wash them, it's actually an elevated platform. Mm-hmm. So it's a bathtub that's brought up to you better, so you're not leaning over. They've got, the spray nozzles and everything else there, the shampoos, and the smell. I mean, the shampoo smells great, yeah. And then you don't even have to clean up after yourself. You basically walk the dog into a drying room, and then you take these huge dryers and start blowing the dog out, and bear hair was in that drying room everywhere. I was like, well, this building was new. And so me and Dad and Mom, obviously supporting Chris and Laura, cleaned up that room after the bear hair event. But for the next week, we would walk in there, you'd open a door, and you'd see bear hair coming across the ground, just because it's just... He's massive. Yeah. Anyway, but it is a cool setup, and, it is nice to run in there. They've got the scrub club, which I'm pretty cool. I think is pretty cool. If you have dogs and you want an affordable way to get them a good bath, and you're tired of breaking your back in the backyard and them stepping in the mud as they walk out of the, is the problem at our home. So this is way easier, and I thought the best thing is you pay for the scrub club, you go wash your dog, you dry your dog, and you walk out. You don't clean up nothing. They're right behind you. You got several people that are cleaning up all the stuff. So.
Oh yeah, they have towels, they have shampoo, they have the drying room's great because it actually, you close the door, so any dog that might freak out, it's okay because then they get used to it, but they're secure in a space, which is so amazing.
And then they have the little earmuffs,
Oh.
which I thought were so cool. So we put those earmuffs on our dog, and some of my other business owner friends for their grand opening brought our dogs over and took pictures, and the earmuffs were the biggest hit. I thought that was cool because their ears are more sensitive than ours,
Yes.
so I could imagine that sound.
Oh,
It's got to be
absolutely.
just excruciating.
And,
for them.
and how cool would it be to, talk to Vicky, the manager over there, and set up a spa paw party?
Yeah,
For your-
that's what I said. That's what I've told Laura so many times is that business needs to be events.
Yes.
Like it needs to be nonstop events all the time.
Yes.
And Laura and Chris, they do events, but they'll go to the town center and create awareness that way. They go to the chambers of commerce, right? They're members of the Chamber of Commerce with us.
Yes.
And they create awareness that way. But I've told Chris and your sister as well, that needs to be the focus. Is let's figure out to do some bubbly afternoons with champagne or something and break
100%.
especially. I mean, this weekend would have been great because everybody's got visitors coming in.
Sure.
Do it Saturday, and okay, now everybody comes home and they've got clean dogs. I
Absolutely.
need to tell my wife to take
Well,
Max over there too.
and Jen is a great groomer.
Oh yeah. That's they offer grooming services too, which
Yes.
is pretty cool. We can't. Well, we choose not to groom either one of our dogs because one's just a big fluff ball and he doesn't mat or anything like that,
Right.
and the other one's a lab mix,
Oh,
so
yeah.
neither
So
one of them
good.
need it. But no, it's a very cool little new business in the area. And then
Love it.
Dora's Dogs and Cats. So I've only lived in the community for about 4 years. And anytime you talk about animal rescue or, they come up. I mean,
They do.
I've never been to their facility. I know that Laura and Maddie go volunteer there at times. I know a lot, but man, that's got to be a hell of an organization around here. And there is a ton of awareness around what they do.
She is a force. She has regular adoption events back in Kingwood. A lot of the dogs are adopted locally, which is nice. But she takes in small, medium, large dogs, and she has a real hard time saying no, right?
Yeah.
So she's got the heart the size of a moon, and she does great work. She does have limits, like every good rescuer should set limits, and both monetarily and with your numbers, because if you're a thoughtful, reliable rescue, you have to hold tight to that, because you have to be able to afford the care and the medical, and it's very expensive. And I know she takes donations as well. Again, dog food is huge. Flea, tick, the medication just in that alone is costly. So those donations are hugely needed.
Yeah, and they're such a good force in the community that
Yes.
I'm sure they're well established. They've got relationships with a lot of vets. I'm sure they've got a really good program going out there. And then just the volunteer hours, go walk some
Yes.
dogs, go pet some dogs. That's pretty cool stuff.
And recently, Dora and I partnered. I brokered a deal with the Empty Shelter Project so that she could take in some female dogs. She had large female dogs that needed a spay, and her vet was backed up 3 months. So I worked with Mary at the Empty Shelter Project, and they provided the low-cost space for Dora, and Dora transported in and got her dogs done.
Okay. Is there any local vets that you've partnered with that are a good support for your organization or organizations that you're supporting, or any ones that you want to kind of recognize through this?
I tell you, the vets that come into the Empty Shelter Project, I know the rescue vet in the Heights. I think Dr. Woods, Dr. Hannah, Dr. Chelgren. Wow, there's so many that get involved with the Empty Shelter Project. They are skilled surgeons. They do high volume spay and neuter. I know Dr. Hannah does 40 to 50 surgeries a day. So it's not like these animals are coming into the Empty Shelter Project with vets that only do it once a week. They're coming into teams of vets that do high volume every day. They're used to seeing any possible scenario, and they can react to those scenarios.
That's cool. Yeah, it's awesome to have that kind of experience. So I guess in closing, let's one more time. It's where you're supporting at this point. I mean, again, it's Kerri Larson. She does medical coordination for multiple rescue projects in the community, but right now she's working with Empty Shelter Project Texas to try to find some facilities, and we're going to try to connect with that, and then also create awareness for other businesses that are supporting those efforts. And then the thanks again to Roman Forest and their community for what they've already done to support your team. And then we'll reach out to Commissioner Gray. We'll reach out to both the ISDs, see how they can support. Is there anything else that I failed to mention?
I just think Juanita Zavala and La Crystal, oh my God, her last name is escaping me right now, but she's worked with Lone Star Animal Welfare League to help in this effort as well. They're very supportive of this. So it's the three of us that are really working together to bring an empty shelter event here to East Montgomery County where it's very needed.
Cool. So it's Juanita, Zavala, Crystal that are
La
all working towards these this end. And I think
Yes.
it's not a big ask for our community, right? And I think it's a big reward for a low ask. I mean, really, right at
It
this
is.
point, you're asking for a facility,
Yes.
and probably when the events get coordinated, a few volunteers and some
Right.
support from,
Yeah.
the-
We just have to be able to separate our dogs and cats, and schools are ideal because they also have access to water. We do bring our own sterilization equipment, so we have to have access to water. And then we need an area that we can feed these volunteers because they're there from 5 o'clock in the morning till sometimes 11 o'clock at night. So
Understood.
it's a big Herculean effort. So
Well, good. Well, if there's anything you need, please get on the website. So it's Empty Shelter Project Texas. Google it out. Look at it for Facebook.
Yeah.
Look at it websites. See what kind of support you can give them. Create the awareness. If you have friends that maybe are on those ISDs or in those public office service type things that, hey, this is kind of a problem for us, or at this point with this growth, we've got to be concerned with other things in our area. And, we do have the homeless population in East Montgomery County, Northeast Harris County that's extremely unfortunate. But if this makes their day better for maybe the one being that supports them through their, then I think it's a small ask to support when there's not a financial need, right? It's just a hey, bring your dog, let's figure it out, and heck, we'll even transport it for you.
Right.
So
well, and I think another way that community can help is don't let the backyard breeders sell puppies in your parking lots.
yeah,
I mean,
I've seen a lot of that.
because what happens is when those puppies get too big and they haven't sold them, they dump them in our neighborhoods.
Yeah, that I've seen a lot of that at
Yeah.
one specific convenience store, and I'm always like,
Yes.
so.
And
Yeah.
if you need a dog, by all means, reach out. What kind would you like? Because I can drive
Yeah.
within 15 minutes and get you any breed you want.
Yeah, and that's we when we found we didn't find Bear. We lost my wife's previous, didn't lose it. He passed away, a Yorkie. My wife was really down for about 3 weeks. And it got to the point where I'm like, hey, babe, we're getting you out of bed. We're going to rescue another dog. And she said, it's not time. I got to get your ass out of bed because I can't handle it anymore. So I get her out of bed, and we go to different rescue shelters around where we lived. And in the last place we went to had 3 puppies that were 3 weeks old. And they had this rescue group had to pull them out of that home for a pretty bad scenario, but they were still too young to adopt. But they didn't have the capacity to handle these dogs. And it was a very well-known shelter group, and they're sitting there going, okay, can you handle a 3-week-old puppy? They're asking us all these questions, and they're having to teach us how to feed. It was a pretty dangerous scenario for these 3 dogs. And we took one in, which was Bear. So he literally doesn't remember anything. And 2 of the puppies died from their third parvo shot. 2 of his siblings. So she called me and said, hey, we just got their second or third parvo shots. One of them already died, and the other one's in the ER. And
So
she
they
said,
had
don't.
parvo.
She said, don't give Bear his parvo shot. And so we never did. And man, that's the baddest dude ever, sweetest dog, because
He's thriving.
he never knew a dog. He's never been in a dog environment, so he
Sure.
thinks he's one of us. But no, I think rescue's the way to go. I have friends that get these specific breeds and they pay thousands of dollars for these specific dogs, and I'm sitting there going, man, just the rescues they're mutts, but they're probably not inbred. They're probably a little bit smarter, and they need something already, you're
They're
not
pretty
having to-
close to full breeds
Yeah,
out there too.
yeah,
So don't be shocked.
See,
mean,
I like the mutts because you
Oh, yeah.
know they're not inbred, right? You know they don't have special circumstances of, you know.
well,
so, anyway.
and a lot of them are grateful to have a home because they've lived on the street.
Yeah.
And so they're a little more loyal, I find.
Yep. So
Yeah.
right on. Well, thank you for what you're doing, Miss Kerri Larson. And please, if you anything you need, let us know. We're going to share this on, like I said, we're going to share it on YouTube, the tx.tv, and we'll also share it through Facebook. I'll text you with that information so you can share it to your team and who you'd like to share it with.
Yeah.
And then we'll connect you with a few people, and I hope to see you at Thursday and make some intros.
That would be great. And like I said, donations to Canine Angels, they're the ones that fund all the spay neuter events for free. It's always welcome, always needed.
Do you know their site, or is it just start Googling Canine
It's
Angels?
capital K9 Angels Rescue.
Okay.
And it's in Houston, and they're
Okay.
based in the Heights there.
Okay, right on.
So,
Perfect. So
on 23rd.
thank you again so much, and I hope you have a
thank
great
you.
afternoon.
I appreciate it.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.